Hello and welcome back to Entrepreneur Talks podcast, season 3. I'm so excited. I'm about to introduce my new guest for this week. Feel free to get in touch with my guest because all the information about it will be on the description of each episode. You will find the website, social media, contact number, email, everything that my guest will provide, even a promo, something that you can get as a freebie because you've been listening, because you've been here with us. And don't forget, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube by Women Flix. You will find all this information and much more. Get connected with us. Find more about what we do. And feel free to get in touch. My name is Yola Bastos, and I'm here with my guest that I'm about to introduce. So, sit down, relax, and enjoy. My guest for today's podcast is Alisha Carlson. Alicia is a non-diet lifestyle coach and the creator of the Mindful Eating Project. She is passionate about helping women feel better in their bodies through food, movement, mindset, and non-diet strategies so that they can create and live their best life. Alicia takes an inside-out approach to health and well-being, helping her clients gain clarity on their vision for their lives so that they have a clear, no-bull blueprint. Let's welcome Alisha Carlson and hear her story and feel inspired. Hello, Alicia. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here with me today.
Hi, Yola. Thanks so much for having me. It's a treat.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you as well. So, Alicia, I hope I don't say your name in the wrong way. So, before we start, tell me where you're talking with me from.
I am speaking with you all the way from the West Coast of the United States.
Fabulous. As you're aware, but for my listeners as well, I'm in London, United Kingdom. So we are quite far away from each other. And how you coping? I don't really know if you're still on lockdown at your region. What kind of?
Yes, they have kind of started to open things back up a little bit. However, my family, we are still kind of practicing a little bit more of the lockdown stuff just to try to keep ourselves safe and everybody else as well.
Especially when we have kids, we need to think about all these things when we're going to start to move and move wisely to be safe in a safe way. So in a couple of words, can you tell me about your journey? What you've been doing through your life, what in terms of job and experience?
Yeah, so getting right out of high school, I went straight into cosmetology school and learned how to do hair and aesthetics as well as nails. So I graduated as a fully licensed cosmetologist, but really only ended up practicing behind the chair. So hair was really my passion. And I did that for, almost 10 years. I really loved that. And I loved connecting with women, and I really loved kind of helping them transform themselves even though it was a little bit of a temporary fix, because we all know, in about 6 weeks, we've got to go get our hair done again. And really after about a decade of doing hair, that was right around 2008. And, or I guess, between 2008, 2011, the economy really took a turn for the worse, at least in the States it did. We had the Great Recession. And it really just kind of put me in a place to reconsider what it was that I was doing with my time, how I was, impacting the world. And kind of on a side, I had been on my own health and fitness journey and had started to really notice how taking care of myself in a way that I hadn't been doing before really gave me a different kind of confidence that didn't really come from, what I was wearing or how my makeup looked or what my hair looked like. And I think that was really kind of the start of the passion that has led me to where I am now, working more on kind of those long-term transformations from the inside out.
Fabulous. That's great. Great to hear. And how do you, so you've been helping women in a short, and like you've been helping women, but what kind of women, like in terms of age, like what else I can say? Yes, more from the age. What age range do you work with?
So I have had the privilege of working with young adult women, even as young as high school age, all the way up to almost 50. I feel like my heart really does speak to the young adult woman who's, kind of in college or maybe just getting out of college, as well as, up to kind of mid-30s. So, my focus really is on helping women that kind of have a lot going on in their lives in terms of they're juggling, different roles and different hats in terms of, being business owners and moms or students, and really just helping them kind of navigate all of the information out there on health and wellness, and kind of cutting through a lot of the BS that's out there as well. And really, just helping these women find their worth and their value, not from what they look like, but from the inside.
Awesome. You mentioned to me that you work with them, you help them who are on a short of time when they are busy, right? Mm-hmm. Through their bodies, like through food, movement, mindset work. Is this like a program do you use, or how do you work with them on these specific things? Because it's not easy, I think. I don't know. I'm just curious, like in their bodies through food, movement, mindset. Do you teach them how to eat or how to move?
Yeah, so I'm a non-diet. So after I kind of transitioned out of doing hair, I ended up going back to school. I got my degree in exercise science with a heavy emphasis on nutrition and behavior change. And at the time, I was a mom of 2 already. So my daughter was 3.5, my son was 6 months old. And I'm going back to school. So I definitely know what it's like to kind of juggle all the things. And so it was really kind of through my own personal journey, coupled with the education that I got there, and then, some of the certifications and work that I've done to really hone in on nutrition and health and well-being, that I've taken a non-diet approach to health and wellness and fitness. So, we still incorporate movement and exercise. We're still working on improving nutrition habits. But I think that where I kind of step in and fill the gap that a lot of personal trainers or other fitness and wellness coaches out there may not be doing is that we kind of shelve weight loss. It's not saying that we're not going to address it or that it's not going to happen, but I think that by primarily focusing on weight loss as a means to feel better about yourself is really shortchanging my client. Because I think that then, if we're just focusing on that, it's kind of this idea that we can't really feel good about ourselves, or we can't feel good in our bodies unless or until we reach that
diet. Yes.
That goal. And so that's really where the mindset work comes in. It's like, okay, how do we start to cultivate these feelings of liking yourself in your body now?
Powerful.
And then, we make those lifestyle changes from that place rather than thinking, oh, when I reach this goal, then I'll feel good about myself.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And normally the process with each client, how long takes?
It depends. I think that you could definitely learn some great strategies and skills in 30 days, depending on how intense you wanted to go with it. But again, it kind of varies based on everybody's personal experience with food and dieting and weight loss and stuff like that. I'm really all about healing people from the trauma of a lot of the diet messaging out there around women's bodies, especially. So, in that aspect, it's kind of a lifelong journey that you're probably going to be on forever. But, I've worked with people for as little as 8 weeks. I've worked with people longer, upwards of 4 months. So, I try to really kind of tailor it to what each individual person needs, and just I try to really communicate the fact that this isn't going to be, it's not one of those 6 weeks and lose, 10 pounds. It's like, okay, in 6 weeks, we could really start to build a new solid foundation and give you some skills and strategies that you can start to implement on your own. But I think it really is just kind of shifting out of that mindset of like, okay, if I just do this for 6 weeks, then I'll have the results. It's like, we all know, if you've ever been on a diet, like, okay, as long as you're doing the thing and you're sticking with it,
yes,
you might have the results for a little while. But as soon as you start to deviate from that, the weight usually comes back on, and oftentimes it comes back on even more than what we lost, which is really unfortunate.
Yes, that's true. It's so true. And do you run, Alicia? Do you run Alicia? Right? I said right. Oh, great. So sorry that I will be asking you, Alicia. Alicia, this is right. Do you have for this specific kind of treatment or work that you do with your clients? Do you also run, like you was mentioned about 6 weeks, working with 6 weeks with someone doesn't mean like you're gonna get to the results, or maybe sometimes takes longer. But do you have any programs in your that you run in your business?
Yes, currently right now I have a couple different tiers.
Yeah.
I still am primarily working with women one-on-one. I will probably be transitioning more into like a group coaching model, just because I do feel like there is a lot that we can learn from each other and each other's experiences. So I have, different options available, but there's a framework that I use that really walks people through in about 12 weeks.
Okay, awesome. And that's how people can, what's the name? Is the name for that? Or they can find on your website?
Yeah, so this specific program, it's called the Mindful Eating Project. And so while I do work with women in areas of nutrition as well as fitness, so like working out, I'm a certified functional strength coach as well. So I'm super passionate about getting women fit and strong so that they can go on and carry out the work that they were truly meant to do in this world. But this particular program really does center on kind of the mindset around nutrition, and then, working through some of the old beliefs about food and about our bodies that aren't really serving us, and establishing sort of this non-diet mentality around nutrition. So it's teaching women how to become more mindful and intuitive eaters so that they don't have to count calories or track macros or weigh their food out or, completely cut out food groups or things like that. So it really is working on healing your relationship with food as well as your body in that process.
Sounds so amazing. Like, wow, I totally get it. What is that? Because when come across to, like you just mentioned about counting the calories, I've seen myself on that specific. place. A few years back, I joined a application on my phone, and I was like, yes, I need to record this. Oh no, today I had too much too much nutrition, or too much carbs, or too much. I was getting crazy about it, and then I stopped. Thank God, for some reason I learned somehow, some way, that it's not about that. You need to focus on what makes you feel good, but at the same time, because you learn about nutrition, or you learn about how to your body receives the food, you can balance, right? Not just about the carbs and etc. Because
no, I think that you brought up a really good point. It's such common practice in health and wellness and fitness to be always kind of tracking and thinking about our food, or about our weight, or about our bodies, that we don't even realize how much mental energy and space that all of those thoughts and all of those behaviors are taking up in our lives. And I think that was really kind of the last straw for me, and kind of changing, my own way of eating and things like that, because I was an obsessive chronic dieter, and I would have never categorized myself as that, honestly. Like I really just thought, oh, I'm just being healthy, I'm just watching what I'm eating, I'm just, doing all the things. And it really hit me one day that no, like, you're still dieting, but you're like living under the false assumption that it's a healthy lifestyle. And it was really when I kind of had that moment to pause and reflect on how much time I was wasting, really thinking about, okay, what does my body look like? And, what's my weight? And how do these clothes fit? And yada, yada, yada. I just, I don't, I just was like, I've got to be here for a reason other than looking a certain way or being a certain size. And so that was really kind of the catalyst for the direction that I've gone in my business and the work that I'm doing.
So good. So good. Oops. I'm sorry. That's really good, because it makes sense to work on these things for ourselves. And how do you think, through the conversation we've been having here, I was thinking you probably can tell me some good books, that because you work with mindset, and do you encourage your clients to read some books about themselves, like about to improve ourselves, like themselves?
Yes, I do. I really do encourage personal development and personal growth books or podcasts or things like that. Again, because ultimately everything in our reality is created from a belief and a mindset, so whether that's a mindset or a belief that you've cultivated on your own, but it's more likely that it's stuff that's been passed down to you from your family of origin or from, society. And so the mindset work is huge. And when you were asking, like, how long does it take for somebody to see results? And really, it just depends, like how all in are you on this transformation? How much do you want to invest in transforming your life? And the people that take the time or that make the time to, do the work on the mindset and, personal development, stuff like that, you're definitely going to see results a lot faster than somebody that's just kind of dipping their toes into it. So yes, I definitely do encourage books talking about mindset, books talking about habits and behavior change, because I think once we kind of start to understand that really our lives are just a culmination of our different habits and beliefs. Once you kind of understand that, you can start to look at, okay, what are some habits that I really want to change that maybe aren't serving me? And then how do I go about doing that? Because I think we all can relate to the fact that it's so easy to create a bad habit, a quote unquote bad habit, but it's a lot harder to break that habit and create a healthier or a better habit in its place. But I think once you understand kind of the different pieces of a habit, then you will, it's a lot easier to start to make those changes.
Change, right? Yes. So could you, Alicia, give to my listeners right now one book that you could advise anyone that wants to transformational help, like in terms of mindset or develop themselves? One book that you used and you would like to encourage anyone here today to read?
Yeah, so a couple come to mind.
Okay.
One is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That was actually probably one of the first personal development books that I read. And I really like that one because it kind of brings to light, I think we all know it sort of subconsciously, but it really highlights and brings to life or light the fact that, your daily actions, whether they are positive or negative, are compounding and ultimately creating the life that you see or the life that you have. And I think that's really empowering because then you can start to look at your choices more mindfully and be like, okay, if I were to think about like if I could create any version of myself that I wanted, are the things that I'm doing every day ultimately bringing me closer to that version of myself, or are they taking me further away? So the compound effect would be one of them. Another one I read, I think late last year, called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the idea of that, which I really love, is just looking at these tiny habits, because I think too, we can kind of buy into the idea that in order to create a radical transformation in our lives, we have to massively overhaul everything that we're doing. And that becomes really overwhelming. It becomes, kind of this chore or this big burden that we're trying to lift. Whereas in this book, Atomic Habits, he really is looking at, what's the smallest change that you could make that could end up being kind of that one domino that tips, all of these other subsequent dominoes over. So I really just like that subtle shift in mindset of like, don't worry about changing the big things, just like what little thing today could you do?
Fabulous. Start with the small things and go surely but slowly, and or small but surely, something like that. Amazing. I just made I just wrote down the names you mentioned, and I will make sure on your podcast, I will add this information, these 2 books that you just advise people to read. So I will put there the names, and they can look for these 2 books. And thank you so much for this recommendation about the books. I love to read, so I will have a look as well for myself.
Yeah, no, they're good. And I think you can find both of them probably on audiobook as well. So I know for a lot of, busy women, it's a lot easier, I think, sometimes to think about playing a book or something rather than sitting down to read it. But I do think that there is a special treasure in carving out, 5 to 10 minutes a day to just kind of put your feet up and read and do something for your mind that way.
Powerful. I love that. I do that. So I know that is really powerful. You're right. So Alicia, one more question. And I would like for you to say to my listeners, how can they find you, connect with you, and find more about your work?
So I'm on Instagram at Alisha Carlson _. I'm also over on Facebook. So if you're a little bit more active there, you can check me out at the Alicia Carlson. And if you want to learn more about me, about my work, then definitely heading over to aliciacarlson.com. My website is a great place. And if you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, I just launched The Strong Her Way. So that's on iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts as of now.
Fabulous. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I will have a look. I will listen. And all these social media links, everything will be on the description of the podcast that I'm having here with Alisha Carlson. So make sure when you go to my podcast website, just click there and get connected with Alicia through the links. Thank you so much, Alicia. It was a pleasure, and I'm so happy that we had this conversation together.
Thank you, Yola, for having me. It was great.
Great. All the best, and God bless you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. Bye-bye. This is the end of our session today. I really hope that you enjoy this session with my guest. I love it. Feel free to find more information about my guests and get connected with He will be on the description of this episode. You will also find a freebie. There is always a freebie from my guests to you. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, where you will be connected with Women Flix, empowering women around the world. Get to know more about us. My name is Yola Bastos, and I'm so grateful that you've been here with me and my guest on this week. I really hope I can see you next week for a new story, a new journey, a new inspiration. Take care. Bye-bye.